So we've already told you about us and how we got started and the personal and professional backgrounds, but now you should probably know about our videos and what they are. Don't go anywhere. It is episode number 3 of Dubkir Depot, the official podcast of Dubkir Media. My name is Kirk Orndorff. I am the owner and founder of Dubkir Media, and I say we dive right into this one. So, like I said, in the first episode, we learned about myself, we learned about my professional background, but now I think it's time to learn about the videos that we have for sale. Um, I've got 24 of them as I'm sitting here right now recording this. I've got I think 7 that are currently being edited. I've got a couple more that are really close to being finished in the filming aspect of things. So we got a lot of them currently that we can be talking about. We've got a lot of them coming up that can be talked about. And I think you guys probably should know about them. And this isn't all you're going to hear about these videos. I do figure that I can do a video, an episode of this on each video, but for now, this is just kind of a good little introductory to tell you about these. And every single one of them has their own behind the scenes stories. Some of them have hilarious stories that of how the video even happened. I'm not looking at the triple header video at all. Um, we've there were things that happened while I was on the trip. The MRL video, I lost a camera in the middle of the video of shooting it, middle of a trip, and that particular video has footage from 7 different cameras on it. So I mean, all of these videos have a different stories that go with them. That's not what this episode is going to be about, though. This is just kind of an introduction to the videos and what they show. In case you don't know who we are, we haven't been to any shows in the Pacific Northwest. We haven't been to any shows in the Southeast. We haven't been to any shows just in the South in general. Um, haven't really been to too terribly many in the Southwest. We did go to Scottsdale last December. We did do Salt Lake a year ago. Otherwise, a lot of the shows have been in the Midwest, where people have seen us, and we've actually had some fairly successful shows. So getting started though with the videos, we got to just start with the very first one. We're just going to go in timeline order here. The first one is modern day Moffat. This video is kind of exactly what you would think it is. It's starting in Denver at Union Station. We literally start right on the platform at Union Station. We see North Yard, we see Leiden, Rocky, the Big Ten curve, Blue Mountain Road, Plain, Crescent, Rollins, Pine Cliff, Toland, all the way up to East Portal. This was the first video that we kind of started recording after we got our camera in 2014, and we didn't get the camera specifically to record some of these videos. It just happened to be one of the areas that I started rail fanning first with the particular camera. Um, but we got a lot of footage from it, and turned out it was a super easy project to edit and to record because it's only driving an hour to get down to those tracks. And so that's the first one. The filming was took place between 2014 and 2019. The very last scene on the video actually is the last scene that was shot for the video. So it kind of fun little story of how that worked out there. Um, After that, though, we our next one is Battle for Crawford Hill. Crawford Hill, as I mentioned in the second episode, is one of our favorite rail fanning destinations. So, you make a trip up there in 2015 just on a long weekend just to have fun. You make a trip up there on a long weekend in 2016, again, just to have fun. Somebody travels from out of state and says, "Hey, you guys have done great on Crawford. Would you show us around a little bit?" Okay, yeah, sure. And so then that's three trips there in about a 14-month span. Um, got another friend who, "Hey, I've never been to Crawford Hill. Would you go with me?" Yeah, sure. And so suddenly that's four trips to Crawford Hill in the span of under 18 months, and now you've got a lot of great footage. All you need is one more for the twin horseshoe curves, and it just worked out that way. And so a lot of it was filmed, the whole thing basically was filmed between 2015 2018. And it just shows the battle of that 13-mile stretch where they're climbing about a 1.5% grade. All loaded coal trains need helpers to climb the grade. Trains are just dug in in run 8 to climb that hill, and it's still a favorite place to go rail fan. It's just really really fun place. But then third on the list, we have what I feel is kind of the most unique program that we have. It's called Hauling People. And this was this started off as something else. And kind of the two wires inside my brain kind of connected at one point to say, "Hey, you've got this program instead." And it really works. I find it kind of be fascinating to watch. And what it is the whole video is passenger trains. I didn't plan this. The whole, and on top of it, the entire video was recorded in 2016. So we had um, not one but two private car specials on our local Front Range sub. We had um, BNSF ran employee appreciation specials, fire first responder specials. We took a trip out east to go shoot 611 because 611 had just started out on the main line, and the writing was kind of on the wall in terms of, will 611 continue to be able to run on the main line? Um, Spoiler alert, the answer was no. We made a good choice. Uh, we also have some leftover Amtrak shots from filming the Moffat video that, we don't want to call them rejects, but I mean, they just didn't fit into the Moffat video. We also went down to the Cumbres and Toltec to ride, but they were also running two evening trains as well as. I believe they were starting one of their engineer fireman schools. So we chased a couple evening trains, rode, and we see about 15 or so minutes of one of the evening trains. 844 returned to the main line after it had spent 3 years not being run on the main line. Frontier Days run was a nice chase. And then we actually used the same Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey circus train footage on the Moffat that we had used in the Moffat DVD, because it really was a rare occurrence, and it just really fits nicely. It's a good way to end that video, especially since it was the last time the circus train had come into Denver. Um, Next on the list, we have speaking of Cheyenne Frontier Days, we have Iron Horse to the Rodeo. This was the 2018 run when 844 and 1943 ran the passenger train between Denver and Cheyenne. We followed the train from Denver. We started right there on the Beltline by North Yard, worked our way up to Cheyenne, followed the train as it went out to Spear to turn on the Y, and back down into Cheyenne. And then we just sat at milepost 511 until the train left. Milepost 511, for those who don't know, is the classic scene in West Cheyenne where the UP tracks come under the BNSF main line. Um, it's been a fan favorite place to sit. Um, it was a really good day until the ending. That is the trip where the gal was hit by the 844 at the end. And unfortunately, it's the last Frontier Days run that they've had, and that wasn't because the gal got hit. It was because of funding for the sponsorships and stuff, and it was just a really sour way to go out. But it as of right now, it has been the last Frontier Days run. it had gotten canceled before, so I mean, it came back before. It might come back again. Who knows? Um, the next one is the before mentioned triple header video. This one was an online rumor. We made the 5 hour drive down to the Cumbres and Toltec on an online rumor. Literally made the drive because of a rumor, and it turned out to be true. And what happened was they needed Rio Grande 315 under steam for some sort of inspection that was going to take place on Monday. And so Saturday they decided, hey, let's have some fun with it. We'll actually run it on the train. But they needed 463 in Antonito, and so 315 and 463 weren't enough to get the train up the grade. So they put a K36 with it as well. And so triple headed up the 4% grade at Cumbres Pass. We start right there at the engine house, watch all three locomotives get ready, chase the train. I think we caught the train 11 times as it made its way up the grade. Um, just a really fun video if you like steam working hard, and something that was very unique. It was the first triple headed passenger train in 18 years, and they haven't done it since. So it was really cool to experience. And if you ever hear that the Cumbres and Toltec is triple heading, find a way to get there because it's something pretty special to watch. Next on our list is Rotary OY returns. This was the rotary run that the Cumbres and Toltec did in 2020. Um, they sold 150 tickets for people to join a bus chase. Um, but before that, they had a wait list for people who were just interested, people who were just interested in seeing Rotary run, and um, I think that list was over 800 people long, and only 150 tickets were sold. So it was something rare that we got to do. Now, I believe everybody on the list did get a chance to purchase a ticket, but with the price of it, with the particular weekend that it happened, I know a lot of people couldn't make it down there, and also the New Mexico and Colorado State Highway patrols were involved, which which kept people from being able to chase it on their own for the most part. So it's a rare video, a rare look at something that, CNTS officials said may never happen again. So it was fun. And then week and a half later, the world shut down because this did take place February 29th and March 1st of 2020. So I'm not going to tell you what happened, but the world did shut down about a week and a half later. Um, but then that brings us to the next. We're going to go with three videos. We've got our Canadian National, Duluth, Mesabi, and Iron Range trilogy. This was originally just going to start as one video, but when you've made 7 trips to the area and you have, 12 hours of footage, well, guess what? You're gonna have to turn it into 3 parts. And in part one, we just kind of look at Duluth, we look at the docks, we look at the famous Proctor Hill, and we look at Proctor Yard itself with a lot of engine movements, with a lot of yard movements. Um, and then in part two, we continue that northward move from Proctor Yard to Shelton Junction, which is just south of Virginia, Minnesota. The Mesabi main line is now owned by Canadian National. They kind of run the directional running. The northbounds will take the Mesabi, the southbounds will take the DW&P, the old DW&P main line. But also the taconite and limestone trains basically all have to take the old Mesabi to get up to the mines and stuff. And so that's what a lot of part two is: a lot of freight, a lot of ore and taconite and limestone. And then part three, the Iron Range, follows the Iron Range sub from Mintac Mine. Make a left there at Iron Junction, and you follow that track down to Two Harbors. Um, Two Harbors is almost exclusively a taconite uh, main line. That's about all that runs on there. There's a little bit of freight there. There's one lumber manufacturer in Two Harbors itself. There's also interchange with the North Shore Mining that takes place, and so that's the road freight, the MRF that handles all of that. So we do see that. We do see it on the branch line going up to the North Shore Mining, but it's 90. 7% taconite trains. There's also one random move with two BNSFs and a sand cars. Those were going into storage. We traveled 16 hours to see the same thing we could see 3 minutes from home. We had a good laugh about that one. Uh, so those are the original nine. When we launched in early 2021, those were the nine videos that we had. Everything since then has been new. It has been after we launched. The next one is the Victorian Iron Horse Roundup. It's called the program's called the Victorian Gathering. Um, this was the Coomerays and Toltec celebrating their 50th anniversary, but they had to push this event back to 2021 because of the madness and nonsense that was 2020. And this was a week and a half long event. They brought in locomotives Eureka and Glenbrook from Nevada, um, special charters. 168 315 was backdated to its pre DRGW appearance, back to 425, and it was a really fun weekend. We rode a couple of the days, we chased the rest of the days, and this was all before the RGS 20 ran down on the Cumbres and Toltecs, which we caught, but it's available for all to watch on our YouTube channel. Next, we have Trains of the Orin line. This is the famed Powder River Basin in central Wyoming. Um, we start right there at just north of Shawnee Junction. Geographically north. It's railroad west of Shawnee Junction. Even though the line runs straight north south, it's classified as an east west main line. Um, we just follow the main line though north all the way to Donkey Creek, and we get to see the mines. Some of the mines are real close up by roads. We get to see trains actually going into the loadout. We get to see some of the mining equipment and stuff. You wouldn't believe how big some of these machines are. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but the narration in the program does in fact have some of that information on it, including like the big trucks that I know go up to like 50 feet tall once the bucket is raised. So that's a cool look at that one. The next one is our two-part video. It is MRL The Final Days. This was as the title explains, the last year of the Montana Rail Link. We, along with just about everybody else in the rail fan community, made our trips up there, to go say goodbye to this railroad. It was very unique with all the EMDs and the helper grades and the locals, and really just tremendous scenery. The scenery in Montana is excellent. And then you put EMDs, older EMDs in that kind of scenery in a very classy paint scheme. They kept them clean. It was a good scheme, and there's a reason why it was a fan favorite. And so that's been one of our more popular ones again because they did get the lease agreement with BNSF ended. Is kind of how the gist of that went down. Next on the list, we've got KCS, the Maine to Shreveport. This one, it's kind of the same thing. The announcement of Canadian Pacific and Kansas City Southern merging kind of came roughly at the same time as the MRL announcement, and so you had people flocking to both areas, and we were some of the people that flocked to both areas, and we made 3 trips to the KCS. We start right there in Kanoki Yard, make our way down to Shreveport to Duramus Yard. Um, we the scenery along the KCS line is it's quite varied. You've got kind of some rolling hills and stuff of Missouri. You got flatlands kind of in the Pittsburgh area, farmlands. Then you start getting to the hills. They in the early days it was a helper district. So you got the hills near Neosho. You got the hills up and over Rich Mountain. Then you got there's another one south of there. Uh, just kind of south of Mena, Arkansas. But all of this is kind of the Ozarks territory, and that's real cool scenery. A lot of trains working real hard. They had loaded grain, they had loaded coal trains from BNSF and UP, and a lot of real cool stuff that happened on that railroad. Next on this one is the first of our across the state it's not really a series, but it's kind of a grouping, like a sub series type thing. This one's across the state. This one's the BNSF in Arizona, and we literally start right there at the New Mexico state line. We work our way across the state of Arizona. You know, we see the wide open spaces out near Holbrook and Winslow. Then we climb up to the 7,000 feet of Flagstaff. We see the Arizona Divide at 7,300 feet, and then we work our way basically just downhill the whole way to the California state line and the Colorado River. The real cool open scenery near Seligman. We see some scenes on the Crooked Cutoff. Um, Little bit of the Yampi Divide. That's kind of the one area didn't really get into was the area in and around Yampi. But I mean, we've got the canyons there. We got Crozier Canyon. We've got the area near Hackberry, Kingman Canyon, and then the desert right there before you get to the California state line and the Colorado River, with only an elevation of 500 feet. So I mean, that's almost 7,000 feet just in difference in elevation, just in that one program. It's another popular one of our videos. But then the next one is along across the Black Hills Central. This one we start right there in Hill City, South Dakota, and I mean they're a tourist line. They're known as the 1880 train, and we start right there in Hill City, South Dakota, work our way. It's only 11 miles to get to Keystone, 10, 11 miles. And then they don't turn anything around. They just run around the train. There's no way to turn it. When you do get into Keystone, and then we just chase the train back to Hill City. And, it's one of our shorter programs. And, um, the shorter ones are a little cheaper than the full length programs, but it's kind of a neat little area. The Black Hills are fascinating. There's so much stuff to do. You got Mount Rushmore is only a few minutes away. Rapid City itself is only 20 minutes away or something, and outdoor adventures and zip lining and helicopter rides, and there's a you can drive. There's a nature park where you can drive through and look at the animals, and a lot of stuff to do there. And then the Black Hills Central is one of those things. And the round trip ride is only about an hour and a half, so it's a pretty neat little area and a neat little operation. And now they've got three operable steam locomotives, and um, just another cool little area. Next on the list, we've got our Tehachapi video. Tehachapi over the mountain and around the loop. The Tehachapi Range in Southern California, it was one of Southern Pacific's biggest challenges in their efforts to move freight north and south through the state of California. We start in Bakersfield, we work our way up the grade, lots of curving, lots of tunnels, ultimately culminating in the big fancy Tehachapi Loop, one of the engineering marvels. There's an actual National Historic Landmark there, and all of this stuff right there at the loop, and you can actually watch a train going over the top of itself, and it's also just a great place to go spend a few days. Next on the list, we've got our Chasing the Chief. This one is we follow Amtrak from La Junta, the station stop in La Junta, Colorado, down to Raton, up and over Raton Pass, which was one of Santa Fe's kind of steepest grades. And then, you drop down into Raton, and then if anybody's been to that area in northern New Mexico, you know exactly what the scenery looks like. The 79-mile-an-hour running all the way from there to Schumacher Canyon. Then we follow it down to Las Vegas, New Mexico, and then up and over Glorieta Pass, which was actually more of a problem for Santa Fe than Raton Pass was, just because it's a longer grade, and it's just as steep as Raton Pass. So we then end that program right there at the depot, the former depot in Glorieta, which is now actually the post office. So it's a really cool prop. It's a nice photo location, and that's sometimes where the trains can meet. Next on the list, though, we've got our Tennessee Pass, a look back. This is one of two videos that I have that my dad was working on when we had the hard drive crash. If you remember one of our early episodes, um, and this one he did most of the shoot. Well, he did all the shooting. He did most of the editing, and then I came in and Enter Sandman. I came in, closed out the ninth, brought in the narration, got it all cleaned up, got it onto onto the discs and stuff, and that's been by far our most popular video in the last year, just because it does start with the Rio Grande. They made annual trips on the line from '89 to '97, so you see all Rio Grande, you see mostly Rio Grande, you see mostly SP, you see all SP, and then actually when we made the trip up there under UP, we didn't see a lot of UP. It was actually kind of nice, and so we got a small, very small taste of UP. But this is truly a Rio Grande SP video for those of you who enjoy Rio Grande and SP. Um, Next is BNSF across the sand hills of central Nebraska, western and central Nebraska. We start right there in Alliance, Nebraska, where the three lines come together for the BNSF. Then we just make our way east, and we see lots of curving, we see lots of hills. There's no online industry on the line. There's very few people because of the soil. The sand hills are very appropriately named. Um, and because of that, we lot of coal trains, and it's a very fun route. Next on the list is change comes to the FEC. This is our Florida East Coast video, and what happens here is we just start right in Jacksonville. We follow the tracks down to Miami. We happen to make one trip right as the new scheme arrived, and we made the second trip as there was about two-thirds, three-quarters the new scheme. Next on the list is last days of the Iowa Northern. The Iowa Northern was purchased by Canadian National, and not a lot of information out there about the Iowa Northern. We were fortunate enough to get some intel about a couple of the scheduled runs. They don't really schedule, but they were a couple of their jobs were close enough, and so that allowed for going out there and getting them actually right around the time that the CN took over. So it kind of wound up being truly the last days of the Iowa Northern. The next one is CNW, the line of Wyoming, and that is the second of my dad's videos. We start on the Cowboy line between Orange Junction and Riverton, Wyoming. Then we go see the coal line. We see the original connector, which is now known as the Powder River subdivision, out near Lusk and all that. It was single track at the time. Then we see the actual Powder River Basin itself with CNW Power, and then we see the overland route in and around Cheyenne, where after the merger, a lot of CNW power started making its way out west, um, and so that's kind of how that video goes. Next is Tennessee Valley and the Steam to Somerville, and this one is one of our two newest ones. This one we start at the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum in Chattanooga, and work follow the steam specials that they run to Somerville, Georgia. Watch them turn on the turntables, turn around, head back. It's a really fun ride. It's a long day, but it's a really fun day, and I do recommend going down to see it if you enjoy Big Steam. Unfortunately, 630 is now down for its for 15 year, but you still got 4501 here for a few years. So if you like Big Steam, that's definitely one to check out. And then our newest video is NS across the Alleghenies. Um, this one is it's the NS Pittsburgh line for those who are familiar with it. It's the famous grade, the former Pennsylvania grade, climbs the grade up to the famous Glitz and tunnels and around the world famous historic Horseshoe Curve. Um, and then down into Altoona, and that's kind of a fun run that we did. We were able to do all that a year ago, and they a lot of trains run. I think they're at 55 or 60 so a day, um, but it's an enjoyable rail fanning stretch, especially once you kind of get your bearings under you, get kind of your directions where you can go sit and all that. So it's a fun place to rail fan, and I do look forward to getting back, even though it's over 2,000 miles away. So, but anyway, that's what we've got in terms of our current products for sale. Um, just off the top of my head, a couple of the ones coming up. We've got the Rapid City Pier in Eastern. We've got the Marceline sub. We've got the triple track, and hopefully after this week we'll have the footage all needed for a big boy video. Got to cross our fingers with the weather for Friday in Wyoming, but we'll figure that one out when we get there. That's just off the top of my head. I do also have some that are very close to being completed in terms of recording. But anyway, the magical clock here is telling me that we're actually way over on our time. So thank you for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Head over to Facebook. Give us a follow there. Also, go join our group, Dubker Depot, the official fan group. Um, and then head over to Instagram, give us a follow there, and if you're adventurous, go follow us on X and watch us not tweet because we forget that we have that one. So anyway, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one, and maybe see you trackside.